I tell you what, if you cannot deal with the ups and downs of the stock market, particularly as we're trying to fix a mess in Washington, D.C., as you and I have always talking about, then get out of the market. I mean, you're in the wrong place. We're getting a healthy dose of change that's necessary. You talk about the trash across from you. I remember back in 2016, everyone, Cruz supporters that I knew that were all upset about Donald Trump and his attitude and all this kind of stuff. And I said, listen, if the guy becomes president, he's going to kick over the trash cans in Washington, D.C. and expose what's really going on. And that's truly happened. Like it's been a very actually refreshing thing. It's hard to kick those trash cans over, but if we can ever clean everything up, it's going to be great. That's what you're watching right now with the stock market going iffy. Now, listen, there are some risks in this tariff policy that he's got. It's not a perfect thing, and you got to be really careful. And in fact, I'm just a little bit apprehensive about some of the stuff he's doing on the automobiles, but I get where we're going here because we've allowed corporatist, internationalist politicians in this country who really have not been standing up for the United States to muck up everything in our economics. They do it with taxes, they do it with regulation, they do it with so many things, but they throw us out into internationalist organizations. They give preference to other countries at our expense, and that's got to change. This is just part of that step. Listen, I mean, change is tough, but you look at all the economic indicators right now. Inflation is down, oil is down, energy is down, gas is down. That's all good. Price of eggs have come down. I'm a big egg eater. I eat a lot of eggs, dude. They're down. So if there's the only thing I actually buy at the store is eggs. Like that's the only price that I actually know because I have to go to DC here and buy the eggs and at Trader Joe's or whatever it is, right? Sometimes I go to CVS, they don't have them. I'm a big egg eater. Eggs have come down, which is a good thing. So everything is down. Jobs are up, right? Jobs are up. Inflation's down. Everything is down. Like, what's the problem? Like, what? The economy is booming. And we're going to get this major tax cut. Tell me about the tax cut plan, because I'm getting a little nervous that we're going to have some weak-kneed Republicans, your friends in Texas. What did we call them back then with the Trump campaign? Cruise bots. Yeah. Oh, we coined that term. Actually, it was Stephen Miller that back in 2015 that told me to call them cruise bots in New Hampshire. It's really fit. They were cruise bots. Oh, yeah. Not to insult anybody, but we call them cruise bots. Well, even he's come around. Even he's come around to Trump, so that's good news. So So I mean, everything is going up. Are we going to get these tax cuts, or are we going to have weak-kneed Republicans that are going to bail on us again? Well, as I've told you before, when we've talked, the weak part of the Trump agenda is Republicans in Congress. It's always a challenge. And let me tell you, though, why they get weak-kneed over this. It's because of the stupid way that budgets and spending packages are scored, and in this case, a reconciliation package, are scored when it comes to tax cuts. They go 1 for 1 on estimated dollars of revenue for how Americans will fall into each tax bracket or whatever the adjustment is. And that's absurd, because when you leave money in the pockets of Americans, it always makes things grow that much more. When Americans can put their own money at work, that grows the economy. It makes things more efficient. When you put it in government hands, as we've learned through all the Doge revelations that we're getting, everything gets screwed up. Government screws things up, but they score these things in a static manner in Congress, and that gets Republicans all scared because it also gives Democrats a talking point. We're going to have massive deficits forever. Of course, they don't give a flip about deficits, except when they can throw Republicans under the bus if it's possible, if they want want to make tax cuts. Tax cuts are healthy for an economy. In fact, we need more of them. We need more money left in our own pockets. Of course, we've got to deal with all of our obligations, and I grant that. But the only way that this deficit's going to get reduced, or we're going to be able to pay off debt in the future, hopefully, if we can ever get back to that, is through growth. It's not through confiscation of individual wealth.
So I agree with that 100%. Have we abandoned the Laffer curve? Have Republicans abandoned that concept, the Laffer curve? As you grow the pie, revenues go up, you cut taxes, you get more economic activity, therefore your total revenue goes up like it did under Reagan?
Well, everyone knows it's the truth. I mean, Art Laffer was brilliant to bring that out. Of course, he all he was doing was putting basic economic principles and applying them to specifically how taxes work. It's fundamental to an economy, but it's basic economics. It's just an alteration, in a sense, of the supply and demand curve, the basic feature of economic analysis. The reality is they know the Laffer curve works. They know that lower taxes generate more revenue. That's a given fact. We've seen it over and over again. The numbers are always the same, no matter what. I mean, Art Laffer's theory has never once failed when analyzed through experience. So, but they're scared because Democrats are going to say that these Republicans are all horrible people because they're going to cut Social Security and they're going to cut this and they're going to run deficits forever. It's always fear, FUD. In the cryptocurrency community, they call it FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That's all that the Democrats know how to do, and Republicans are cowards often, or at least a large number of them. So no, they need to push these tax cuts through. It's going to help the middle class in particular. When you talk about getting rid of the tax on Social Security, getting rid of the tax on tips and overtime, that's good for the American people. Just hold your nose, go make it happen. It's all going to work out in the end if you'll just do it.
Well, now they're complaining about it. What about President Trump has also said he wants to wipe out capital gains. Do you ever see that happening? Well,
again, we need members of Congress or arrogant Democrats that want all your money. We should never have a capital gains tax. There are two taxes that are entirely absurd and that are socialist in thinking, Marxist in thinking, and are designed to harm the wealthy, so-called. Of course, it doesn't just hit the wealthy, it hits everybody. Those two taxes are the capital gains tax and the inheritance tax. Like, these are absurd. Oh, it's actually there are three taxes. Also, corporate taxes. Who pays corporate taxes? The people that buy products. It's not the businesses. They're just a pass-through agency. And it doesn't always directly come to the purchaser of services or goods from those companies, but eventually it does, because it goes against the bottom line of that company, and that's got to be met somewhere. So all it is confiscation of wealth everywhere. We need to get rid of all three of those taxes. We really do. It would really make our economy that much better if we could just get rid of corporate taxes and let people invest their capital the way that they see fit without having to take a penalty for it.
Well, he's trying to get the corporate tax cut down to 15%. He's trying to get capital gains cuts down. I'm in favor of both of those.
Yeah.
But the main thing is getting the Trump Tax Cut and Jobs Act, getting that codified, getting that re-up for the foreseeable future. That's essential. That was the biggest opportunity for small businesses ever. That includes the 20% reduction in the pass-through. That includes deducting capital equipment 100% in the first term of buying it rather than over 5. Those were critical. Part of that is, as you mentioned, no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security. And then he also wants to increase the small business pass-through deduction from 20% to 25%. That would be the wish list of everything. Is he going to get close to that?
Well, first of all, his tax cuts should be extended out into future years. I mean, that's a gimme. So at a minimum, that's got to happen. Literally, Democrats want to increase, they want to get rid of that, and they want to increase taxes by $4 trillion. It's just an absurd notion, and it's a confiscation of wealth that has got to stop. All these other things, though, I think we can make them happen eventually. First of all, the Republicans in the House, I have to say, from the best of my knowledge, are pretty much on board with just those marquee issues that Donald Trump has been talking about. The problem is going to be senators who, when Rand Paul tried to offer an amendment to cut spending by $1.5 trillion, 29 of them voted against it. These are critical for the American people. And in the age of Doge, when we find out the massive waste that takes place with this money, the political win is clear. The American people are still on board. You do not have any reduction of support of the things that Donald Trump is doing. So you might as well just keep moving ahead with the agenda the American people voted for. If the Republicans will do that, they are going to win in 2026. I think they probably are anyway, because Democrats are so low in the polls, and I don't see how they're going to recover from it. But they could if Republicans don't act. Will it happen? I think at the end of the day, probably most of it will happen. The bigger problem I see is that we're not actually going to get the cuts that they have guaranteed. After we added about $3 trillion to our budget just because of COVID, all of that spending, none of which have we reduced since.
It's unbelievable. I think it is so mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And we're with Jim Pfaff. Jim is the executive director, the president of the Conservative Caucus here with me in Washington, D.C. But Jim, it's maddening. I mean, we increased federal spending by nearly $3 trillion because of COVID. And here it is 3 years after COVID, or 4, whatever it's been, and it's still there. Like, we've cut nothing. The money just got spent, and they continue to spend it. And then you look at all this Doge stuff, none of those cuts are being codified. And the Democrats are fighting it all. They fight it every step of the way. The waste and fraud and abuse is unsustainable, but the Democrats don't want to cut anything. I find the whole thing to be just mind-boggling. Like, where do they think we're going with this? You cannot continue to spend money. I mean, you cannot continue to drive the debt up to $50 trillion. There'll be no country.
Yeah, Republicans mostly need to get that message. They have the votes, move forward. But listen, all we got to do is rescind the CARES Act and the Inflation Reduction Act.
That's it.
Just those provisions, and we would be in fantastic shape. And then there's no argument under that scenario of these expanded programs since COVID and in the Biden administration. If we just got rid of those provisions, and by the way, it wouldn't be a dollar for dollar thing. Some of that money's been spent, but it gets rid of the fundamental programs that were expanded or extended permanently. And then we're going to have massive reductions in the spending. And then you don't have to raise taxes, or at least have any argument to raise taxes. And the American people won't be harmed in any way. This is all largesse, extra spending that politicians in Washington, D.C. expanded upon so that they could win votes. And we don't need this anymore. This is why we could go to $50 trillion of debt in yours and my lifetime. Like, we're not young chickens, right? That we could go to 50 trillion in the next 10 years if we don't stop this trend very easily, maybe quicker than 10 years. So yes, the fixes are simple if people just have the political will to do it.
Well, they don't. That's the problem. But hey, the good news is, we got the package passed through the House, right? I was not confident that was going to happen. We got that passed. So that's at least a starting point. Now they get back on the 28th. They have to actually start the work. And I think they have to start codifying some of these Doge cuts, Jim, right?
Yeah, they actually do. And there's going to be some process here. So on the Doge cuts, codify current spending that's unnecessary that Doge has found. But the one area where actually the president can make a long-term impact is to get rid of the fraud and waste and abuse. Now, we had that now famous video of Elon Musk and Garcia that were talking about all of the Social Security numbers that have been given out. And they found that as they were looking for fraud in the Social Security system. Listen, that you can get rid of tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars, just by dealing with fraud, which they have now identified in Medicare, the key Great Society programs, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and then the New Deal program, Social Security. That would make a big difference. It can be codified. Congress has no authority to spend fraudulent money. There's no authorization in the Constitution. So the president can do a lot. We could get down to $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion in cuts just by codifying Doge. But again, I just want to harken back to what I said earlier. Rescind all the provisions of the CARES Act, rescind all the provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act. You still have a baseline of spending. We could get down, we could potentially cut $2 trillion eventually as we go over these next couple of years.
Jim Pfaff, Conservative Caucus. You nailed it. Jim, people want to follow you. Where do they go?
Go to theconservativecaucus.org, theconservativecaucus.org, and also follow me on X at Jim Pfaff.
Jim, thanks for being with us. Happy Easter to you and your family. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, sir. See you, John.